We need to get them videos over. Start using this collab feature. Y'all know where y'all at.
Yeah. Good evening. Happy Thursday night. Hopefully there's no confusion, but if there is, this is the Chop Up Show, right? This is your girl Toya G. I'm happy to be with y'all. It's the end of a long week for me, but March is here. We moving through these little months, honey. February came and it got on up out of here, but let me not get to line because it's crazy out here. Every day is something new. So we moving fast and slow at the same time. Y'all just hold on to your seats. I'm happy y'all decided to ride this wave with us. I'm not by myself. With the glasses, who is you?
Man, George Lee, aka Conscious Lee. Don't forget the Lee. Shout out to Chop Nation, everybody tuned in right now to the Chop Up Show. Listen, on Thursday nights, you probably ain't doing nothing. Come on and tap in with us with anything dealing with pop culture, anything dealing with news. You know, we're not in pop culture because we're really philosophers, educators over here. We're going to give you a nice little unique, raw, nuanced perspective on what's going on in the world. We're going to drop some jewels too. You might lead a show, you know what I'm saying, learn a couple things.
Something like with the hat. What you talking about?
What's good? It's the plug. We back for another Thursday. I know last week we was absent. Lee was in town. We did, you know what I'm saying? We was able to get it in. We got an episode coming that we was able to record while he was here. So yeah, we back though. We back.
It's lit. Real quick, shout out to Tyler in the comments. Definitely always love to see you in the mix. Shout out to Courtney. Shout out to Cal. Anybody else in here, go ahead. Use your manners. Be polite. We introduced ourselves. You introduced yourself. We're going to go ahead and jump into a pretty solid conversation here. I got the timer in my hand. That means it's time for the 2-minute drill. 2 minutes are going on the clock. And with this 2 minutes, everybody has an opportunity to kind of take a splash on the topic. We're going to go ahead and start with a topic that all three of us kind of have some things we want to contribute to. And that is this question of Jasmine Crockett. I'm not going to be the one to start it. I'm going to ring it out and then take us into the next one. 2 minutes on the clock. Who's going first?
Let me do it.
Oh, okay. 2 minutes on the clock. When you start, let's get into it.
All right, so the situation with Jasmine Crockett is a weird situation because the outrage about her losing that we see coming from Democrats, that we see coming from Black Democrats specifically, it's kind of, I get it, but it's an instance of you being right about the wrong thing. And what I mean by that is I've seen people like Dr. Rashad Ritchie and other who you would consider progressives looking at the situation with Jasmine Crockett and saying the electability conversation wasn't necessarily fair to her. And they made it seem like it was more about her being Black than it was about her electability. Here's the thing. Her electability was specifically tied to her being a Black woman. This is the state of Texas. Texas is the biggest state in continental U.S. That means that unlike in other places like Georgia, where you can win the large metropolitans, and that kind of gives you a really big edge in winning the state, Texas don't function like that. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of rural areas that you have to be able to win to win a statewide election, and they don't like Black people like that, specifically outspoken Black women. So while you're right in the sense that the reason why she lost this primary, while you're right in the sense that she lost because she was a Black woman, it wasn't necessarily people working against her as a way to say, well, we want to undermine her because she's a Black woman. People are actually quoted as saying that we love her. She's not going to win a statewide election in Texas on some cultural shit. And that's the reality of it. So ultimately, while I get the frustration, what we have to recognize is electability is key. And a winner take all, first past the post voting system, if you don't win elections, it's pointless. The whole thing didn't matter. And so ultimately, we can't abandon the electability conversation because it's Jasmine Crockett when those same people voted for Kamala Harris because she was more electable than Joe Biden. So
yeah.
2 new minutes on the clock. We got a lot of love coming in the chat. Shout out to Pure Black. Shout out to Gumbo Goblin. Welcome back. You said it's been a couple of years since y'all seen us together. Well, since you seen us together, the gang is back in town. We back together, linked in, locked in, doing something special, yo. So it's fire. Antifa was good. Gail Thomas was popping. Definitely happy to have y'all. We about to put 2 minutes on the clock for the Conscious Lee. When you start, I'll start.
Yes, listen. I'm born and raised in Texas. I live in Texas right now. There's been a lot of conversation about what's happening here in Texas, and I think that a lot of people are not taking into account that this is a primary election. And I think that because we're skipping past the uniqueness of it being a primary election, there's been a lot of from my perspective, a lot of bad metaphors, a lot of bad comparisons, especially when you're comparing it to the general presidential election or a general election between Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp. What I think is very important is that everybody that voted for James Tyler Rico, or most people that voted for James Tyler Rico, also voted for Kamala Harris. Second thing is this: I think that the timeline of who was in the race first, how people had already made their minds up when it was James Tyler Rico versus Colin Allred, and how a lot of people felt like once Jasmine Crockett got into the race, there was nothing that she provided specifically that made them want to change their mind away from James Tyler Rico to go to Jasmine Crockett. For me specifically, I think that it's interesting to see people talk about her not being electable, by also talking about she should run against Ted Cruz. So for me, as a black person, seeing with the relationship that I think that black women is watching this is being like, hold on, y'all like to have black women do this in the back, let us rally, protest, be a strategist, but y'all don't want to see us lead. I can jive, with that or whatever. I think that when it comes though to the primary election and us having a real political analysis, I think that we should be able to really analyze, a policy. And the last thing I say is I seen this video on TikTok about about how many policies that James Tyler Rico has been able to pass since he's been in the House versus how many Jasmine Crockett has been able to. And it's like we got 18 versus 0. And I think that some people seeing and thinking about, hey, how do you actualize your ideas in the policy? And for some people they seen proof in the pudding with James and not with with Jasmine. How much time I got left? Oh, yeah.
Time is up. 2 minutes on the clock for me. What's going on, Miss Ma'am? It's always great to have you. Yeah, shout out to y'all keeping these comments jumping. I'll put 2 minutes on the clock. I might not even use my full 2, but here's what I have to say. I can only hope that Texas Democrats learn a lesson, right? Or learn the lesson from the Botter elections that we have. What lesson is that, you ask? It is the one that we've been talking about in the form of ineffective and unnecessary cannibalism that will leave you feeling like you need to have a pity party about Jasmine Crockett not winning to the point where you're not willing to show up and pull up for the midterms when y'all figure out whether or not y'all dealing with, who's it, Cornyn or some other dude.
It's Cornyn and Paxson. It's a runoff. They got
exactly, right? Yeah. So some other table still shaking on the other side, right? So don't feel like you fell in love with your favorite candidate, they didn't win, and so the next part of it ain't for you. I think the worst thing you could do is start to be overly antagonistic of James Tyler Rico, especially when, and if he starts to speak to his vision, to his approach to specific policies as he starts to shape and mold some of those conversations. If I'm not mistaken, he's talking about, it's not about the left or the right, it's about the top to the bottom, right? That's kind of his message and rally cry. And if that's something you can identify with, don't be the fool that's just like, oh, another one of them is getting that chance, or some of the like this disillusionment. Like, you need to show up and lock in ways that Beto didn't get the support that was necessary when he was conjuring up and becoming a fan favorite, but people didn't follow through. And I don't know too much about Texas politics, so I'm gonna stay in my lane. I'm a Californian from Missouri, but when it's all said and done, what I will say is something got to change and something got to give. She sent the text. She posted the text message she sent conceding the race. She said what she said. Now we know that it was potentially some mishandlings in Dallas, some skepticism about telling people to get out of lines and stuff. And so we know that the processing system was going to be mucked up. And those are signs of things to come for what's going to happen in November. That's why you got to slide. You got to invalidate missing ballots from some random city where they're trying to do something weird. You got to go ahead, and that don't even matter. We didn't need, because I think it was like 80,000, something like that. It's like 111, something like that, 1,000 votes or something like that. Don't let me get the math wrong, but it was a margin that could have been closed. But you need it's enough people in Texas to make that shit irrelevant if you go ahead and stay the course, stay the lane, and don't eat up your own people or go take your ball and go home just because you didn't get your way. That's my 2. 2 minutes on the clock for. Y'all want me to run it back, or what y'all want to do? Who going next?
I do it.
We're gonna go round robin. We're gonna go back to Damo. 2 minutes on the clock. The political plug is in the building whenever you're ready.
For what? For on the same subject or
second topic? No, the second one.
Okay.
Yeah, pick one. Starting now.
So, after the Justice Department not only got rid of certain Epstein files from the website, they also said that they wouldn't be releasing any more files until their ass got subpoenaed. And now Pam Bondi and them is like, they're going to release some more files. And while we're about to talk about what's happening in Iran, we're about to talk about what's happening in Iran. one thing that's causing the United States to lose more legitimacy in the eyes of global communities is how we're handling the Epstein files. Like the fact that you have so many other countries that are like going out of their way to make sure that if your name got caught up in them files, it's some type of accountability, investigations, people being removed from power. While the United States, our top person, not only is caught up in it, but is using the government as a way to suppress that information coming out in order to protect himself. Like we're seeing a deterioration of not just the not just the legitimacy in terms of how we're being perceived, but knowing that this system, the system that we try to say is the best system in the world, the greatest form of democracy, can easily be co-opted into corruption and be used in ways that to protect some of the worst among us. Right? Obama really had niggas thinking like, yo, we're moving in a particular direction. And any possible progress that could have came from an Obama administration, 2 Obama administrations, have been completely wiped away by what we see from this current administration. Everything from people like Pam Bondi to even KRISTI Noem, literally flat out caught lying repeatedly in front of Congress, so bad to where Trump got her smooth up out of there. And so we better talk about Iran and this war and everything else. But like Epstein and what's happening, it has been a bigger detriment to the image of the United States, the image of us being world police, the image of us being the beacon of democracy, all that shit going out the window. When our government is looking as corrupt as Israel or Syria or whatever government is how it's perceived globally.
Absolutely. And yeah, by the way, I mean, Antifa points out she's not out. She's just being rotated to a different position. Also, it's important
out
to
from
know
that position,
out from that position. But just for everybody else, right? Like I'm certain you kind of know about the nuances in there. But of course, I'm not necessarily going nowhere. But what is it? Mark somebody Will Mullins?
Mark Wayne Mullins from Oklahoma.
Mark Wayne Mullins. Yeah. Oklahoma.
But here's the thing. Now his whole situation is being kind of criticized because Trump announced the date for him starting March 31st, this and that. No, Papa, there's laws and rules to this shit. Mark Wayne got to go through a confirmation process. He got to sit up in the front of, his peers and the people who shape his position in the executive to give him the green light to go ahead and do some of the things he's doing. So there's a lot of questions about how Donald Trump just pushing somebody in a position without forcing them to go through the proper channel. So we're going to see how that plays out. Anyway.
Papa.
Yeah, we're good. Lee, you want to rock? You want me to rock? What's up?
I got it.
Bet 2 minutes. Start now.
2 minutes. Hey, conservative contradictions is when you have a white man that feel like he can be appointed. That means he doesn't have to go through the legal process. It's showing y'all the way that they are chastising a lot of immigrant people and saying, hey, if you did it the right way, if you did it the legal way, then I wouldn't, you would be. Now we seeing a whole bunch of different international laws be broken. We seeing a whole bunch of constitutional laws be broken. We seeing a bunch of white people, specifically cisgender, able-bodied white men that's in the goddamn White House right now, and the whole administration that's able to do whatever they want to do, regardless of what the law is. The same law that justified killing black people, saying that if you would have complied to the law, you'd be alive to the law. The same law that they saying, hey, the reason why I can jump out these bushes and ambush this woman that's going to the courthouse is because she ain't followed the law. So the same law that they understand the discrepancies between the civil law and, criminal law when it comes to their civil. Donald Trump was civilly found guilty of what sexual misconduct. So now we understand that wasn't criminal, that was civil. But when it comes to undocumented people committing civil offenses of being present here, they no longer care about, harsh and unusual punishment. Yeah. They no longer care about life, liberty, pursuit of happiness from the Constitution. Now they feel like they have the jurisdiction to be able to say, hey, no, you Spanish speaking, no, you Haitian looking, no, you don't get shit right here. And to me, it's just showing you conservative contradictions. The same people that beat their chests about saying, I'm trying to conserve the Constitution, it's the very people that can go above the Constitution. They act like Reggie Bush. I'm talking about they get elusive with it, you feel me? And it's showing you conservative contradictions. The same law that would justify putting your ass 6 feet under is the same law they will go around and justify invading the country, stealing their leader, bombing the country, going against the Constitution. That we have a process where you have to get approved in order to get that position. White men, they can just give it to them.
Wicked. All right. Last 2 minutes on the clock for me. Shout out to y'all in the comments. By the way, I'm seeing we got ads on YouTube. That ain't us. That's YouTube making them decisions. So we do got a Substack though. If you want to catch us over there, we about to start really flooding that space with a whole lot more perspectives, a whole lot of more intimate conversations. And by intimate, I just mean more one-on-one. You might catch a Toya G type beat. You might catch a political plug type situation. You know, Leo.
We on Substack now?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, for sure. So
we are live on Substack right now.
Make sure y'all slide on us if y'all want them ads, but also YouTube is a great place to find us as well. We plug in every hole. We in every space. Wherever you're gonna look for us, you're gonna find us because we're the Chop Up Show. So apologies for that. Stay tuned in with us, but definitely catch us in a place where you ain't gotta go through all of that. You deserve better. Okay, yeah. 2 minutes on the clock for me. Last conversation I want to say or have is this. We know about the controversy between 50 Cent and T.I. We know it all stemmed from a versus that never came to be, but a lot of invitations, a lot of cold talk, a lot of, like just straight up breakdowns about how that conversation in that particular matchup will go. I even sent the team, a little playlist, track for track, song for song. I ain't gonna lie, T.I. is looking good for him if they were to have that versus, but they're not gonna do that. They have clearly chosen to use the war of words on their side, or at least some of them have, because we know T.I. done dropped the track. We know that Damani done dropped the track. We know King done dropped the track. A whole Harris family been on 50 Cent's head and at his neck. And what do we know about 50? What do we know about 50? I'm going to try to chime in with me. What do we know about him? What's one thing we know about that man?
He petty.
He petty as hell.
Here's how we kind of solidify that in this moment. He posted a 50 Cent, a picture of T.I. and Tiny. 50 Cent reportedly were developing a surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary, much like the one he did on Diddy. And in the caption he put says, "Remember how quiet I got before the Diddy doc? Because we haven't heard from them. Dame thought I wasn't coming. I hope this doesn't mess up your promo tour. They ask about your 20 sexual assault cases. You might want to talk to a crisis PR person." So he's floating an idea that he's finna drop a doc. Harris versus Jackson sound like a presidential debate. It do.
Shout out to you, Pro Black.
My lord. But it's not going the way I think 50 thought it was. Folks in the comments saying you weak. All of this over 50 over a versus battle. Like, why you can't just rap about it? And then here's my favorite part. And I want to see, if y'all agree with me in the chat. They're saying that this is a bad pattern, a bad look for rappers, because it's the second time somebody took it somewhere it didn't need to go. This is being reminiscent of Drake in a rap battle, going to the law, going to the legal system. Like, why you can't just rap about it, my boy? Like, what is it about the craft that you can't just leave alone? And why do you feel like you always got to draw outside the lines? This time, not a lot of people captivated by what 50 Cent talking about. The thing about T.I. is he had some issues. He had some assault cases. They all got dismissed. He had some stuff with the OMG girls, and with what he ended up, they reversed, they got a bag out of that. So a lot of the legal issues that he's experienced, I'm just trying to figure out what else you got to say. Or do you really know more than what? Yeah, or is it like the battle where we never really gonna know if Kendrick got a baby or not? I'm trying to figure out what's going on. We're just trying to
and the chiming in too is just showing too that a lot of the shit he done made about Diddy, it was all ulterior motives. You weaponizing the victimization of other people suffering to try to get at one of your ops. You don't care about their victimization. You don't care about their suffering. You don't care about the violence they suffer. It's only a aha gotcha moment. So now. You trying to take the trauma of whatever these women, accuse T.I. of, and you're going to try to trivialize it and commodify it and say, he, ha, gotcha. And it's just showing, bro, you moving like a sleazeball. Or like we've seen on the internet right now. He show us a lot. The reason why that man got shot so many times.
Listen.
And on top of the fact that a lot of, it was a nice portion of claims that was made in the documentary was refuted. A lot of people felt like, it wasn't. A lot of it wasn't factual. It was a lot of, while you had some people that had personal beefs, it was certain things that was dissected that folks said, that's cap. You know what I mean? So, it's at this age, it's like we
didn't even know Diddy defenders, but the truth got to be the truth. You know what I'm saying? The facts got to be the facts, and they should be able to speak for themselves without needing to be embellished or blown up.
That's it.
Shout out to Marcel, Vegas girl was good with it.
Fuck Diddy. Just so we clear, guys. Fuck 50, fuck Diddy. Just so we clear.
Fuck both of them. Yeah.
That's the politics. But now it's time to get into this conversation about Iran because, it's looking like we're going to be here for a while. So by here for a while, I mean in active war, potentially boots on the ground. I want to say 6 to 8 soldiers have already lost their lives. Not to mention the the girls' school that was targeted in Iran, and they was going back and forth. They was doing the Spider-Man meme between Israel and the United States. Who did it? Was discovered today. More likely than not, it was the United States. 168 victims, maybe in counting, could be more. Most of them considered to be young people, and so it's getting out of hand very quickly. Oh, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, I heard this on NPR. This war is costing American taxpayers to the tune of, what was it? They either said, and I'm not even bullshitting with you, $1 or $2 billion a day. Not even bullshitting with you like that. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2. I feel like I'm leaning towards 2. It might have been 1, but it had to be on it. Because I sat there and said, billion? And I think I focused more on the billion than I did the number in front of it, because at that point, it doesn't even matter. But that's how much money these things are costing. I also don't know about y'all, and then Plug, I'm gonna just turn it over to you, because I can say these things in betwixt and in between the rest of it. Yeah. But it's some things going on, man.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So I want to start out like this. I want to start out apologizing if I may slip. We are trying to pronounce the name of this place correctly. It is pronounced Iran. I'm sorry if it comes if I say it with an accent, because I'm trying to say it right. Because calling it Iran is the same thing as being like Mexicans, Arabs. You know, that's that white nationalist country. We're gonna fuck up your name type shit. So we're gonna try to approach this with some type of class and call them by who they are. Iran. All right. So how do we get here? Toya's talking about the casualties, people that have passed away, the civilian cost. How do we get here? On February 28th, United States and Israel, in a joint effort, struck Iran. Donald Trump claimed that it was specifically to address their ability to get nuclear weapons. Now, again, the issue with this is there was a nuclear deal that was in place that would allow for people to inspect Iran, and they made the commitment to not make nuclear weapons, just use any type of nuclear program for energy. Donald Trump said, fuck that deal. Donald Trump tried to create his own deal, which was really would have just been very similar to the deal that they already had. And then that fell through. That's how you get to February 28th. The commitment to harassing Iran on the basis of Israel. Because for generations now, for decades now, Benjamin Netanyahu has been sounding the alarm on the possibility of Iran having nuclear weapons.
Yeah, 2 weeks
How
away.
far do we go back? Can we go back to the 80s, the 90s?
80s. Go back to the 1980s.
They've been a week away. They've been days away from developing nuclear weapons since the 80s. Benjamin Netanyahu's been pushing this conversation. And so we get to the point now where they have the type of person in office that they know would have no problem creating the type of conflict that we're seeing now. After February 28th, come March 1st, Iran retaliates. You start seeing explosions all through the Middle East in places like Dubai. You have people watching drones fly in the buildings. It's getting wild, right? Like we ain't seen this type of conflict really in some years. So we get to the point where people are asking, how did this happen? It seems like we're at war with Iran, but we recognize that that's not the president's power. So we start getting statements. You have Marco Rubio that literally says, we knew that if Iran was attacked, then they would attack us. And so then we attacked them first. Not realizing that he getting caught up saying that we knew Israel was going to attack Iran. Iran.
I'm doing an Iran counter. You're at 2. Keep going.
I've said
counter.
You did.
Count them up.
It's all right.
All right, so we get to the point where even the statements that U.S. officials are making are not accurate, and they telling on themselves. That gets us to what? Well, to March 4th. We hear all these conversations about constitutionality. The Senate blocks a war power effort to stop what Donald Trump is doing. Yes. With specifically even one Democrat. It was on party lines, but there was one Democrat. Fetterman, remember that name. Fetterman, remember that name. That voted in favor of blocking war power, like literally stopping Donald Trump from engaging in unconstitutional war efforts. Now, let's not forget, when he literally came out after these attacks, he didn't mention any immediate threat. He started talking about shit that happened in the past. When Donald Trump was providing justification, it had nothing to do with the possibility of us being attacked. Nothing at all. It only centered around how he felt about Iran. And then, and really, one thing that bothered me was the way that he kind of was very cavalier about the loss of American life. This is coming from the man that campaigned on not starting wars.
Yeah, he don't care at all. Not only does he not care at all, to me, he's showing just like you right now are persecuting people in this country because you believe they are breaking the law. At the same time, you are not giving the damn about the checks and balances, separation of power, you know what I'm saying, of this system that we had. I mean, you're making it where you're making top-down unilateral decisions, not going by the law at all. And to me, it's just saying, and you know what? I hate to be that guy, but it's this. For everybody that's watching and listening, especially if you had an issue every time Israel-Palestine came up, this the shit that a lot of us leftists already peep game. A lot of us Pan-African, pro-black, with Marxist, socialist, whatever you want to call it. When y'all was willing to turn a blind eye to Israel breaking a lot of different laws and blowing up children's schools and killing civilians and hitting these civilian spots and, you know what I'm saying, doing, collective punishment and all these things were things we raised. It's a bunch of lawyers, though, that was like, blah, 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 blah. And listen, if you one of the lawyers that was being a Zionist, or you feel like when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and them was blowing shit up and you feel like you ain't had nothing to do with it, now we have a war that Israel has brought us into. And because people feel like we have a unapologetic allyship with Israel, if Israel say jump, America say how high, we jump our way in Iran. So when we start talking about, hey, why do you care about Israel-Palestine so much? Look what they're doing right now.
Look, and I always point to, I think there's a difference. Like when we say, like, Israel says jump and America says how high, it's really the situation is really reversed. Israel is America's excuse to fuck with Iran. We want to fuck with Iran. We can't do it though because we're supposed to be the diplomatic peace. We like it's all about keeping the world safe. So we can't do that. We can't just harass them. Israel can though, and they'll do it willingly, right? Because it's now there is a common interest. They got their cultural beef and all that other shit. We just as a world power don't like it when people push back. So why not empower their enemy? Why not create us a beacon of U.S. imperialism in this area where you got all these places that don't fuck with the United States? Now, the one more thing that happened today before we get deeper into the conversation is that there was also a war powers resolution that was done in the House, and that also failed on a 219 to 212 vote. So the Senate and the House, the bodies of government that are supposed to check presidential power, both failed. Both came up short. Now, and on party lines, which kind of speaks to the fact that what matters more, constitutionality or party politics? So, from y'all perspective, when they say shit like an imminent threat, right? What do y'all think would need to happen to justify the type of attacks that we've seen on Iran? Like, what would be an immediate threat that we're talking about? An imminent threat that they're talking about?
I don't know what it could be, and that's the reason why I and other people are very confused about things. To be clear, Iran cannot get any weapons over here. They don't have the technology or the capabilities in the form of ICBMs that allow for those long-range missiles. And the reason why they are so antagonistic toward American naval, or not naval bases, but military bases, is because they're over there, right? Because the United States got to be the big dog police of the world and have a whole bunch of different military bases and be in the middle of a whole bunch of different regions, conflicts, and also be there trying to steal oil and do all types of shit. It's bases everywhere over in they shit. But you already know ain't nobody building shit over here. So Iran does not have the ability to strike the United States with anything. They don't have They have, and it has been proven, right? Because Iran is not hands clean. To be clear, the Iranian people are wonderful and amazing people who have been under oppression and repression for a long, long time. But the Iranian government, not solid people, very fucked up, bad aspirations, just not where they want to be. They've always been little bruh, you know what I'm saying, throughout the process of trying to acquire a lot of their technology and resources to build nukes. And then the tolerance for nukes gone down. We've seen, you know what I'm saying, the catastrophic ways that a lot of, interactions with countries have happened. And so people are drawing the line at Iran and been like, nah, you are irrational. And some of it is, xenophobic and all that kind of fucked up, like, obviously. Yeah. All of this to say, in a world where they don't have the ability to strike the United States with any type of weapon, I guess Donald Trump has been trying to spin it as the threat that I was talking about is like, not really on, because I heard some version of it that's like it's not really the American people. It's more so concerns about assassination threats. It's more so concerns about him being done the way he did Venezuela and the way other shit be happening. And that's what kind of makes me interested and skeptical about.
They can't even do that though. Like you said, they can't even do that. Like
it's just not. And so none of this is warranted. To answer the question, I don't know that there is a singular thing that could allow for me to believe that we are in such a delicate situation that we should be participating in the catalyst of any type of long-term war, any type of war that can escalate to the point where nuclear weapons are drawn, or that like it's just or just more civilian bloodshed happens. I don't understand a path to justifying that for me. I don't see it in the cards of how this conflict is unraveling.
Lee, what is it, Lee? What is the imminent threat, bro? What is it?
For me, it is way less intellectual labor to talk about the power imbalance that America is able to do in configuring these narratives to make it like they're the perpetual victims or make it like there's imminent threats. And what we do know is that when they able to change the narrative from saying that we gonna blame this random white kid that we found on a Reddit thread for the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, and then 5-6 months later or a year later, we're gonna switch it up and say the Iranian government, you know what I'm saying, they was the ones that was doing this. It's like, I think that if America believes the shit that it spews about being the most powerful and having the best military and all this, we understand that no other country is going to bother them unless they do it themselves. Which brings me to Pete Hesig's, you know what I'm saying, comment about, well, we felt like we didn't do it to them first. They would did it to Israel, and then they would did it to us. So we hit them first. And it's like this is the reason why people that listened to me on yesterday morning, you know what I'm saying, it kind of hurt this already, but it's like, listen, during the vice president debate, when Tim Walz told J.D. Vance that he believes Israel has the right to expand its borders and that he believes being able to expand its borders past its proxies would make Israel still remain an asset and ally in that region, that was him talking about Israel having the right to expand. And when we start talking about what's happening with Iran, I want to be clear. They're not trying to take over Iran. They trying to take over Iraq. And they understand that Iran ain't going for that shit. So they trying to cause a bunch of civil conflict, civil unrest with the Kurds, with the Kurdistans, people that want to, Kurds. And I didn't did the research now and be like, man, answer Damo's question. I'm being real. There is no threat. There is no threat. The only threat there is that them folks could possibly try to take their oil and naturalize it with their citizens, like they tried to in 1953, and that's the reason why we've been beefing with them ever since. I had to look it up or whatever. Mozaffar Adin Shah, he a sellout. This man right here, the fifth Shah of Iran, he the reason why they got this shit going on. You feel me? He made a deal he made a deal in 1901 with this British millionaire. And he sold out the Iranian people, you know what I'm saying, for their oil. Now in 1953, when they have a revolution in the coup, this dude get elected, get democratically elected, and he want to naturalize the oil again. And who don't like that? The British in America. Yeah. Hey, when I learned that BP oil come from them.
Name something that don't come back to oil, like really.
But to me, the British Petroleum, the British Petroleum.
Hey nigga, that's why they call it BP. They gotta stay close to the roots, but they can't give up the game. It's America. They making out
the British Petroleum Oil Company is the oil. The oil is based in Persia, Iran.
But look though, I think it's what we're seeing is an example of projection from the Trump administration. It's no coincidence that just months prior, Iran wasn't dealing with civil unrest based on their own economy. Their economy was collapsing. People are mad. There are protests. And we ain't been, for whatever reason, we don't hear about like the protests in Iran the way that we hear about protests in other places, right? Like how we'll be over there and everywhere else. But
Damo, they're saying death to America. But they're saying death to America. What is your response to that? They're saying death to America. You've seen the videos. What's your response?
I mean, because a part of the reason why the economy collapsing is because of sanctions. It's because of embargoes. It's because of U.S. trade policies that specifically work to the detriment of those people.
That part.
But it's not a coincidence that as their economy is collapsing, Donald Trump and them is like, let's just blow their ass up. Listen, they're at their weakest state because internally, the type of unrest that they're dealing with. Why not just start bombing their ass? The same protesters, the same people, citizens that Donald Trump was like, if y'all hurt any of those citizens, we're gonna hurt you. Now we're U.S. artillery is now blowing up them same people.
Yeah, the irony.
Like the threat. It's reverse. They trying to switch this shit around. They're trying to justify what it is that they're doing to hide behind the fact that they see Iran in a position of weakness. So why not blow their ass up? Right now, I want to ask y'all about the constitutional question, because as viewers of the Chop Up know, I probably have more faith and belief and respect for the Constitution than Joey.
Shit.
But I think
ain't never matter, goddamn.
but okay. So let's talk about it, because that's the one of the main issues that's really bothering people about these war power resolutions not being adopted is the blatant unconstitutionality of what Donald Trump has done. Typically, what has happened is in order to use these type of war powers, going all the way back to George Bush and going into Afghanistan and Iraq and kind of moving how he moved without congressional approval, they've created certain provisions in presidential war powers that make it to where there's a gray area that they can operate in, right? If we look at what happened in Venezuela as an example, that was regime change as well, but it was disguised as challenging a threat to national security because of cartels and getting drugs in the United States. That was the excuse. That allowed them to operate in the area of, well, yeah, we got cocaine coming in all the time, so that's an imminent threat. We have to stop him. We having overdoses, fentanyl and shit. So it's a justification. We got to get rid of Maduro because he working with the cartels.
Absolutely.
You didn't hear that here. The constitutional question, it's specifically, we see an opportunity, we took it. Like y'all said, no imminent threat. So when we talk about the Constitution in the ways that we talk about it, is it a real limit or check to power, or have niggas been lying to themselves about this whole shit?
Everybody says niggas been lying to themselves about this whole shit, but I also feel like niggas have been holding lines, have been holding standards, there are certain things that just have not been on the table or not been fathomable. And this is where, it really kind of is scary in terms of how much either a very clear legal premeditation it took to set up the veracity of the Trump presidency. Right? Like, it's kind of hard to conceive. Like, it make you wonder for how long he was. I mean, because, he tried to run a couple times, tried to get some motion a couple times, was going to run as a Democrat at one point. Like, that was all a part of his kind of plan. And so it makes you wonder how long he's had these presidential pursuits and with this agenda, because it has taken some keen strategery from a legal and political perspective to get as much done or undone, depending on how we're framing the conversation, with so much hard striking, clear, piercing results. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that a lot of what he's been able to do is not systemic manipulation. It's not corruption. It's not saying fuck the rules, I'm gonna kind of make my own. I think he's found himself saying that because of the cleavages in the way that the Constitution exists and the way the law is existing and how it's being interpreted and how shit like the Supreme Court is a feature of a Constitution that can like allow it to kind of swing like a kitchen door both ways. You know what I'm saying? And so when you have a system that is so ironclad, but also so kind of penetrable in ways that people don't consider because they're not like fucked up, then like you end up being caught off guard when somebody really fucked up is like, and they have something to like mobilize that it then becomes a real threat. And the whole time they're like, shit, I'm within the boundaries. And even if I'm not, the way the Supreme Court works, who gonna check me, boo? They like me. The stars have aligned in ways that allow for something like the Constitution to lose its salience, to lose its impact, to lose its interpretability by people who have understood America, democracy, this country in a particular way. That shit don't look familiar to me. And the reason why is because they move some things around in that bitch or expose some things that decent people, weren't exploiting.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
Okay.
Man, I feel like I want to preface this with saying I'm so happy I get to be with y'all. I get to nerd out a little bit. And I get to nerd out with y'all because y'all understand where I'm going with it. I first wanted to answer the question and being like, nah, the Constitution been fucked. And I was on, I started to go to like 1823, James Monroe Doctrine, him being able to set a policy to say, hey, any of you European motherfuckers come over here and try to recolonize, I am going to put my foot down. Now, listen, James Monroe, did he deploy any troops? No. Did he declare war? No. But did he set a policy that allowed for a bunch of presidents to reinterpret what the Monroe Doctrine was that allowed for them to go past those, presidential war powers? Second, in terms of the Constitution, the Louisiana Purchase was in 1803. And we know within political science, within all the American historians, they always argue that Thomas Jefferson have the authority to purchase or to cooperate with the Louisiana Purchase because he didn't have Congress approval. To me, that sounds like a structure or a policy or a process that the Constitution would ensure has to happen. So what this tells me is that if the Constitution was way after 1776. So the Constitution was less than 30 years old and it was already broken. So we in America, we say our laws is about precedents and what precedents you said. I feel like the Constitution, it was always what we say. It is good for me and not for thee, or it's good for me and not for thee. That's how the Constitution has always already been situated. And this is what I say last. I know I'm gonna push back. Listen, I push back. My last thing. A lot of people have a idealistic relationship to the Constitution, and they like to negate, you feel me, the actual material evidence that comes from us being able to understand what the Constitution has been able to bring to us. There's a whole bunch of things we can romanticize and put in the abstract and say, but ideally it's good. Yes, ideally a lot of things are good, but the ideal and the abstract, it never negates the material reality or the way we're able to come up and quantify evidence. So when we see the ideas the Constitution has been able to bring materially, it's always been a bunch of contradictory shit. That's the reason why every single president since 1803 has been able to push the parameters or what the scholars say, reinterpret. Reinterpret the Constitution.
I mean, so, here's the last, real quick, and then I'm gonna give it to you, Plug. The last thing, it can't go without saying, because I mean, Cal kind of says this in the comments, and this is something that is the obvious. I feel like it's like the low-hanging fruit of it all when it comes to the Constitution. Is that the Constitution was literally written on the back of slaves, so that invalidates it. I mean, it literally they had to add shit, like they didn't really, and that's my thing. You could tell a lot, like people might apply the way that the Constitution is transformed, the addition of amendments, the altering of amendments that existed. We complete humans. We're not just kind of pieces of shit. Like we all the way, even though all of that, women voting, 14, 19, like just a couple different, 13, like a bunch of different amendments that you should be probably are familiar with because you are about to defend this Constitution. But when the framers of the Constitution took their time and had such a serious investment and had this vision of life, liberty, land, it's just people who they didn't have in mind. And so the only inclusions of them have been strategic and have been, done in a way that doesn't undermine the perpetual kind of fuckery that is the development and evolution of this country. So, like, I just think you got to kind of shout that part out for the sake of history and shit.
I find it hard to take some of my normal positions in this specific conversation because the blatant kind of disregard for the Constitution, and then the main failsafe, which is Congress, like bypassing that responsibility. I mean, due to partisanship, though, like let's be real about what's undermining checks and balances is partisanship. If we being for real, right? In order for this shit to work, niggas got to take those roles serious. Now, and that's why I'm more so standing on the issue that I blame the liberal moderate, right? Because I'm glad y'all brought up the amendments, because the amendments are an example of why the Constitution is considered a living document, right? Mm-hmm. What that means is it's not supposed to be this static. You're supposed to, as society progresses and we see things, it's like, nope, we don't want this shit to happen. Nope, we don't want this shit to happen. That's why you add amendments to be like, and this is a part of our core. And this is another thing, a part of our core. Once we stop adding amendments and being like, well, it's cool enough, it's good enough, that's how we run into the issues that we're running into. For example, a part of going into 2016, a large political conversation amongst the right was packing the court.
Said we should be on like the 50th Amendment, the 150th Amendment.
Sorry, God, we got 27.
Like seriously though, but because here's the thing. Well, I'll get to that. But when you look at the fact that you have Republicans whose number one goal was like, we have to control the courts. We have to make sure. So where Donald Trump was the most dangerous was the fact that in his first term, by the time he left, one in 7 federal judges were Trump appointees. Like that was, I mean, look at, and then the Constitution, or not the Constitution, but the Supreme Court, that was a fucking layup. That's why I say these people are the devil. The type of lucky shit that just kind of fall in their lap. I mean, you could blame Ruth Bader Ginsburg for not retiring earlier, and then you could blame,
definitely am too.
The one that retired, they pretty much paid him off to leave so Donald Trump could get another.
Scalia?
Who?
Scalia?
Yeah. No, Scalia died. Scalia died. They gave that. He died.
So Scalia and RBG died.
Yeah, and then I forget the name of the justice that retired, which gave Trump another. But packing the courts was the goal, because it was like, once we get the courts, we get to control what this shit say. And that's the.
But you see, because, and the only, I'm not even about to disagree. I'm just about to say, you see, that to me makes my point about the far side, because you don't pack courts to not spin a block, right? So It's literally people that's like, we're gonna do 2 terms. Ideally, they'd be back to back, but even if there's some stuff in between, if we move like this, you know what I'm saying? Like, the type of vision to be like, we're gonna put you back up there again, and they're gonna run you again, and you're gonna be able to use and manipulate the courts again, and then elevate, and then the Supreme Court's gonna try to look like this, and like, it's just mind blowing me. But what's behind the curtain, man? Keep going. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just
that's a great addition though, because what we come to realize is, I mean, there is a system that we have to exist in. There's a reason why democracy is one of the more popular purported forms. Right, we may not see it.
It's popular because of the American military, man. That's what this conversation is. Democracy is popular because of the military.
But even and I have a guest in here.
What's up, my boy?
What up, nephew?
But I hear what you're saying in terms of the military part, but it's really the people being in control conversation that makes it internally where people want to adopt it. You see what I'm saying? Like there's this idea that I can have a say, right? And it's not as robust as it should. We can see it happen in certain places, but for the most part, there's a reason why people are quicker to adopt that as a way in which, as a society that they would prefer to exist in. Because if you look at other forms of government, what is niggas willing to say that they don't, that like, nah, I would rather have a, you know what I'm saying? Like that, that's a
Socialism,
real question.
communism, shit. What? This is what I say right here. I think in the conversation about the Constitution, I'm not going to negate the egregious things that Donald Trump is doing and going far when it comes to being unconstitutional, like doing unconstitutional things. But I think we can't skip over how damn near every president since World War II has done a lot of military actions without any congressional approval. And I think this is begging the question. I think this is illustrating the Constitution has always been this idealistic thing that Americans can put up in a romanticized idea. But at the end of the day, that shit ain't never meant nothing. Because I can just read the list. Harry Truman, Korean War. He deployed U.S. troops without congressional approval in 1950, 1953. Dwight Eisenhower, 1958, Lebanon. He ordered U.S. troops into Lebanon to stabilize the political crisis. JFK, Cuban Missile Crisis, 1962. Lyndon B. Johnson with Vietnam War, 1964. It's like, hey, all these presidents are able to do things without congressional approval. That is definitely an act of war. This is showing the Constitution has always been this amenable thing, and the only thing right now difference is that Donald Trump is going further, quicker than most people, you know what I'm saying, have. But it doesn't.
But that's the point, though. But that's the point. Like that, I feel like when we talk about, like when we're having this conversation, that's why when we compare it to whomever else, like even some of Donald Trump's earlier actions was in a gray area, a constitutional gray area, right?
Sure.
But what's happening now, that disregard, the type of disregard we're seeing now, is even more dangerous, because then we get to a conversation of, if we are completely disregarding constitutionality in this context, right? In what other ways can that shit be? Can that be undermined? Because
I think that this conversation right here, if we allow for this, what can happen? I think that's the conversation that should have already started before our time. I think that is a slippery slope that Donald Trump has been allowed to take advantage of. I'm looking at it right here. Since World War II, every president has been able to argue that the way that they're going to understand war powers allows for them to always to create unilaterally. So we can see that there is a whole bunch of studies that show that since World War II, the presidential war powers has always expanded. So think about it. If Harry S. Truman is able to deploy troops without congressional approval, there should have been a thought of, if you're able to do this in 1953, what would this justify in 2026? So a lot of instances, what I will argue is that Donald Trump is only taking advantage of the climate that every president before him really set up. And I think that is the ugly truth that nobody want to look at. I think that Donald Trump is...
You're not wrong, but here's where the fucked up kind of part of the whole political system kind of plays into is because, think about it like this. Every president, if they go through the process of going through congressional, approval about going to war, that goes set up a situation where we really start to see how people move. And if you shut down my president's ability to do some things that they want to do, if you vote against it, if whatever, then now when your president pop up later on and want to do some stuff, like that's really a whole lot of the tit for tat nature of a lot of how policies do or don't play out. Is that if we green light this shit over here and let them do that, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, it could be something that needs to happen or something that doesn't need to happen. But if we allow it, right, and it's against our interests, what am I trying to say? I'm getting tangled up in what I'm trying to describe. But basically, I think there is a lot of kind of not just the people who are making the decisions, not the presidents making decisions about these, but there are a lot of political backdrop conversations that say, if we greenlight certain plans to attack certain countries, or if we block those opportunities, that means later on they can turn around and block, our party's decision to make some things. So then you just let the president go ahead and, move with a big stick, right? You don't want to leave it to Congress to figure things out because they so tit for tat. Yeah, right. You got away with some shit over here. Okay, well then when the turnabout is always going to be fair play. So things get kind of caught in the cycle of how politics happens and who votes for what and what they allow and disallow on this level. In order for the president to bypass that and do whatever they feel like is appropriate, they don't want to leave it to that shit, largely because of the linearity of party politics. Yeah, because I think what I'm trying to get out to, right? Yeah. A lot of party politics get implicated when you sign on to wars, when you make really big decisions, when you forgive fucking student loans. Then what big thing are they going to choose that they just want to kind of be? And we just kind of, so it's a lot of infighting and a lot of grandstanding and a lot of strategic maneuvering that happen at this level. That if there's a way to circumvent it all and just go do some shit on a higher level, then it'll happen. So yeah, that was choppy, sloppy, and ugly, and I'm still trying to articulate exactly what I'm trying to say. But I think y'all get what I mean when we just talk about why it never makes it down to these congressional, levels to be discussed anyway. It's because
somebody on Instagram, according to Congress, shout out to you. They say yes, but this administration has violated many more fundamental constitutional protections than other administrations. We're way behind declaring war. Though I agree with her, the only thing I would add to that is we can't skip over that there has been a precedent that is set that has allowed for presidents to always go against the fundamental constitutional protections. So once we start to create a climate that allows for you to go over the fundamental constitutional protections, now it allows everybody to go rogue.
But the issue is that what you're calling going rogue is just an inherent issue with interpreting like these fundamental documents, right? There's always going to be some level of, like I said, a gray area where how we interpret presidential war powers.
I'm agreeing with you. I want to be clear. I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm just saying that is the root of the problem. I'm saying that the root of the problem that's an
inevitability, though, bro. Like you're never going to have, like, especially as society kind of grows and standards get established and laws are like reshaped and reformed. There's always going to be interpretation. Like you are never going to get past that, right? So that's why while I agree, issues with interpretation have persisted. We're not seeing an issue with interpretation with what Donald Trump is doing now. We are seeing a complete disregard for for why the system functions the way that it does in the first place. At the end of the day, checks and balances exist to avoid tyranny, right? Like we say fascism today, we say dictators today, but they was talking about tyranny, right? The idea of absolute power, right? And when we looking at it, when we're looking at the thing and saying that our checks and balances can't check absolute power because of partisan bullshit, because of party politics, that's way more dangerous than just like, well, presidents be doing that, right? Because ultimately, even still, there were Republicans that was like, Nixon, you got to get the fuck up out of here, bro. Like we telling you right now to get the fuck up out of here because we gonna have to get you up out of here. And the best way to do it is you leave, have your mans take your spot, he'll pardon you, and just go on about your business. Because how you moving? But this is the definition of corruption.
Now, though, to me, I think that this is about the utility of the Constitution and about the effectiveness of the Constitution. And to me, it's just like, hey, if we don't have any of that model or any of that framework or any of that, you know what I'm saying, safety net to make it where, hey, you are doing unconstitutional things, you have escalated the way that presidents interpret the Constitution in ways that has not been done before. We think this is a reason to get you out. To me, I think because they have not been able to me, all this is that Donald Trump has been able to.
No, not that they haven't been able to. They've allowed it.
What's the difference? What's the difference?
To allow Trump to get away with it. Because right now, this is an example. Republicans, just because we disagree with them, they're still culpable to the Constitution. They still have a responsibility to the Constitution. And so they're allowing checks and balances to mean nothing. Like they're allowing that. Now, real quick, I want to get to this last part of the conversation before we get up out of here. And that is the question that it always go back to. Is 3 niggas on the panel, 3 niggas from the hood. And there's a general question when we talk deep politics like this is, why should this matter to us? What the fuck this got to do with niggas? Like Donald Trump ain't drone in the hood, goddamn it. You know what I'm saying? And so from y'all perspective, as black people, and just like all the shit that you just said about the government, what new powers become possible? What new ways to fuck people over, the people that's traditionally fucked over, becomes possible when shit like this, where we see this complete dismissal of the Constitution, can take place on the levels that it's taken? Like, we have to recognize that a key part of like black progress has been federal intervention, has been the usage of the Constitution, have been the usage of the federal. Now, those same things have created a detriment as well, right? But we've also been able to utilize it to push back. So, Toya, should we as black people be concerned with a dismissal of constitutionality like that? in terms of how that can then be reflected back in on how like civil liberties are protected by the Constitution.
I mean, yeah, obviously, right? Like, I think even in the context of navigating this Trump era of political change and shifts, like the court has been the only reeling component of this. As fucked up as it is, and as much as it's been, greenlit by the Constitution to look away and to allow processes to be processes, to allow itself to be packed and become contrived, and to allow the Clarence Thomases and the Brett Kavanaughs of the world kind of shift and push there. But at the same time, the court is what it is. So it's the necessary evil, right? Like, it is the constant circle back that us as Black people have to do to be able to survive and make sure that, my bottom line is kind of protected for whatever the fuck that's going to look like, right? But it's like, I mean, like Lee talks about all the time, when y'all talk about not voting and shit like that, it is this really detached understanding where, you drawing lines and being like, I don't care about none of her. I'm not voting for none of it. You're not voting for the sheriff. And them the same people who decide, when your uncle coming home, them the same people who, have a lot to do with what get charged and how things get charged and what classification was this, that, and the other, how, certain people are positioned and placed in certain areas. So when you give up on the whole thing because it's a little fucked in terms of politics and how it exists, you really end up kind of playing yourself, right? So in a lot of ways, like, yes, you should pay attention to shifts and changes in the Constitution, broken parts of the Constitution, lapses in the Constitution. You should be questioning and skeptical and frustrated with lacks of changes in the Constitution, even if you don't think that shit defends or works for you, because constitutions do work. How do we know that? We see states on a regular basis change their constitutions. When we saw Roe versus Wade be turned back, we saw states jump in with that document and say, oh no, but around here in these parts, within these lines, you do what you need to do. You go see who you need to see. You don't have to. So we understand, at least on some level, that a knowledge of how this thing is working and investment in its shifts and changes and making sure the right people is touching it at the right time is probably in our best interest one way or another, because of the ways that power moves both vertically and horizontally and how shit is kind of set up and what different you are protected by a couple different constitutions. Right, your existence is interpreted through the lens of a couple different constitutions. You can use your state constitution and shit. The federal constitution is like some binoculars, and we are constantly trying to kind of manipulate them and get the right view and the right understanding of who you are in the eyes of the law. And a lot of that is about understanding. For example, as a Californian, when I like to participate in what Californians participate in, right, what that might mean for me on a federal level, it's an intersection of things that help me understand my rights and how I move and how I breathe, how I exist within, my dual positionalities in this country. So, yeah, like I think Mia says we have PTSD. We've seen people go to Congress with their ducks in a row and get a slap in the face. It's about the face and the place trying to make the change. Yeah. And so 1000%, you know what I'm saying? We know skin folk and kin folk, we know everybody trying to get in the mix ain't really representing our interests, but this is why we have to heighten our relationship to processes and not always fall into identity politics, not always pay attention to the person who, is holding the mic and paying attention to the person who's pushing the pen. This is not a dig, for example, at Jasmine Crockett, but for example, we talk about who's passing policies, who's really interfacing with the way that legal processes work. And James Talarico's track record is just more. The score is 0 to 18. Black, brown, purple. It's like I love all people. Black, brown, blue, purple. Look, the numbers are the numbers. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what color you are. 18 to nothing is 18 shit.
To nothing. Bad luck. Yeah.
So if that's how you are, tipping the scales and moving things forward, then I'm willing to oblige at least some of my attention, some of my capacity to figure out what's shaking with this whole Constitution thing. I can't just completely cover my ears and eyes and take my ball home.
And so for this nigga here, because we just heard the rant that he just went on about that shit don't mean nothing. They didn't use it and they didn't always been able to play with it and all this other shit. So then when niggas is like, look at how Trump is just dismissing the Constitution. You know what I'm saying? Do you tell niggas that it's just their Constitution, so whatever they done did with it, it is what it is. How do you reconcile the fact that the Constitution and federal courts have been used to push back against the ways that states have been some of the most racist, state governments have been some of the most racist institutions, and if it wasn't for federal intervention and Constitution and the Constitution, they'd be able to get away with some of the shit that they be trying to get away with. So with your pessimism, sir, not that I don't necessarily agree with it, but with that pessimism, then how do you move to the conversation of caring about the impact of what Trump is doing internationally that could have reverberations domestically?
I think that behind me I have a picture of Malcolm X and James Baldwin, and both of them have always talked about the peculiar relationship that Black people have with the Constitution and American law, and understand that we've always had to have a double consciousness to how the Constitution is applied to our bodies. That we understand that ideally we should not have our rights violated. We should have due process. We should have the right to, but we understand that in order for us, we also understand that people that don't think we should have it and have the power to deny us of it, they had the power to deny us of it. To be clear, the conversation we was having earlier was how much does the Constitution matter in terms of presidential war powers? And I answered that question by talking about what a president was allowed to do. Niggas don't have no presidential powers at all. And even when Obama was the president, we seen that the white folks did everything they could to, regard what the Constitution said, was able to stop him from using his power as the president unless he was droning motherfuckers.
I was about to say, like, that nigga Obama definitely was using war power.
The extension of American imperialism, he was not able to interpret that Constitution to do something for niggas. You know what I'm saying? But answering your question, though, what I do with niggas is that, listen, we know that in every hood in America, there is some junior ROTC, some recruiting office that's set right there, and that's the reason why I asked the Black people. Why I looked it up when I asked this question is, Black people represent less than 1/5 of the population, represent 20% of the military population.
I thought it was 17. Like we like 14. We 14.
Now we at 20%. Oh no,
and we 17%. I thought it was 17.
Bro, we at 20 now.
20.
We at 20 now. We just know it just with the 20. Yeah. You are correct. It was 17. It has just risen. It's just risen to 20. So when you ask, what does it have to do with Black folks? Hey, whenever they have the time and they have the desire to wage war, they're going to use Black bodies as collateral to wage said war.
Lord.
I just came from Iowa, the great state of Iowa. Shout out to everybody in Des Moines. America has always been able to use the best and the brightest of Black Americans to get us to be used for the military machine. What blew my mind, y'all, you know what I'm saying, in the this is that when I was in Des Moines, Iowa, I found out that the founders of the Noops, the founders of the Alphas, the founders of the Qs, after they found these organizations, the major organizations on these campuses in the early 1900s, in the 1920s, they all got recruited to go to Des Moines, Iowa, to be captains and sergeants and leaders of Black folks within the military, and it blew my mind. So I'm thinking of right now, when you ask, what's that to do with Black people? A lot of Black folks view their ability to go to college, to get that charger, to get those tattoos, to get that good job.
To get that scat pack.
I'm acknowledging all the ways. Some niggas have superficial ways, they reasons they go. Some have the reasons they want to go to do this. These are all the ways they're able to just go to the military. So when you ask, why does this matter? The president's interpretation of the Constitution always has a direct impact on Black livelihood. And that's on Dead Presidents, the movie.
No, I mean, and we can't forget that whenever the United States is engaging militarily throughout the world, domestic surveillance and becomes heightened. You know what I'm saying? Domestic policing becomes heightened. We've already been dealing with what we've been dealing with ICE. And that kind of extends more to a militaristic approach in local police departments as well, because you know they up there talking about motherfuckers is they scared of sleeper agents in the United States and shit. Mm-hmm. So now they
said property outlaw shirt, and they had he had a property outlaw shirt. He had the shirt sweater. The shirt under it said was the Iranian flag, and he had the Quran in the car. That shit sound like fuck ICE, anti-ICE.
Right.
What it sound like, anti-ICE.
Yeah. So last thing, a unique thing about Iran is what we've heard them say about the United States and their treatment of Black people in the context of how the U.S. attempts to police everybody else. Right? Like y'all are supposed to be the beacons of democracy, but look how y'all treat niggas. They ain't say niggas, but they say black Americans. Right. So does that create, because we're talking about in a conflict with Iran, right? In that conflict, does it create a enemy of my enemy is my friend type shit when Iran could recognize the plight of Black people? You know, niggas love it when people recognize our plight. When niggas when somebody else say, oh, black people, they deal with this, and they niggas like, see, they said it.
Yeah.
How much credit did we give Donald Trump for just saying black people built America type shit? Like niggas was willing to give it. He got 20%, highest ever, the most for a Republican for saying silly shit like that. So does it create a enemy of my enemy is my friend type dynamic when it comes with Iran, or are there things that we can look at with the Iranian government and be like, appreciate it, but yeah.
Okay, so who was credited with making that statement?
Let me pull it up here. It's been a couple of statements that's been made, like historically.
For sure. A couple of them. A couple of they ayatollahs, a couple of their leaders have made multiple different statements about black liberation. About, you know what I'm saying?
Even recently, a nigga was on a show on Zoom kind of saying this shit. Hold on, I'm pulling it up. But as I'm pulling it up, why was you asking that though, Toya?
Well, I was asking it just because, like, if these are people who, you know, are just average people or people who are not political leaders, like, it is very important that we start making sure that we are engaging in people-to-people diplomacy and normalizing the people behind these governmental conflicts, right? So, like, I was trying to see, like, if it's a governmental leader who is pointing out, you know, the kink in the chain or pointing out the blemish on the collar of the United States, then it's like, that's a little bit more interesting to me. But if it's just the Iranian people recognizing that we all under some fucked up shit and that the ethical and moral high road that the United States and Israel is trying to take don't make a lot of sense because all they do is, you know, come down on black people and oppress black people, then that's what I'm talking about. If political leaders are the ones saying that, and it sounds like you're about to tell me, then that kind of shapes a little bit more of the conversation, because it's just like, I don't know, for the same reasons that, you know, we can look at Palestine and say the shit is off and it's not okay because we are passionate people, compassionate people, and we care about people, is the same reasons why it's like, Iran leaders, I appreciate your flattery, but I still can't rock with how you fucking over your own people. Like, I'm glad that you understand that my life matters. Like, thanks and congratulations, but I also can't get too excited. I can't let my heart flutter too much when you are literally terrorizing, genociding, and being autocratic towards your own, you know, citizens, and that's just kind of weird to me. So go ahead and rock out. My bad. Teach us.
No, so I mean, we can going back to a tweet from 2020. The Ayatollah that was just killed in these recent attacks. He tweeted the people's slogan of "I can't breathe," which can be heard in the massive protests throughout the U.S., is the heartfelt words of all nations against which the U.S. has committed many atrocities. So we can go back to Black Lives Matter, and, you know, "I can't breathe," which was Eric Garner, right?
Eric Garner,
yeah. During the Eric Garner protests, he was attaching that message of not being able to breathe to U.S. imperialism as a whole. So that's one example. But we've heard both the people themselves and the leaders kind of speak to that. So routinely, the government itself will point to U.S. treatment of Black people as a way to discuss imperialism globally that comes from the United States.
Yeah,
so if that, I don't think that changes anything that you kind of
not necessarily, but the context is useful for sure.
Yeah.
I think I agree with Toya. The only thing I would add to it is I made a post about this, talking about how the hostage situation in 1979 and how, you know, the Ayatollah at that time, you know, released the black hostages because it's like, y'all oppressed in America enough. I think that's dope. I think that it's dope that, you know, that they were able to give commemoration and give a bunch of acknowledgement to Malcolm X for the American government did. You know what I'm saying? I think it's dope that they had a relationship with Louis Farrakhan and that they, you know, have stood in line with different resistance movements. But I also think it's very performative. I know about the Afro-Iranian history, and it's like, hey, y'all don't fuck with the black folks in your country. You don't fuck with black folks in your country.
Yeah,
there is an active erasure of the Afro-Iranians and, you know what I'm saying, Iranians in the country. It's like, I don't want to hear that shit. So you can't convince me you care about niggas over here and you don't care about niggas over there. So do I think it's good what you've done for niggas? Sure, yes. Shout out to you. Does it erase the way that you have fucked over your own people? No. It definitely don't fuck over how you fuck over your black people. And it's like, for me, you know, two is two. But I will say this though. I think that even if you want to paint Iran as being a habitual dictatorship of crazily Muslims, I don't think that the American government has the jurisdiction to be able to go above different international laws and go with different, you know what I'm saying, Geneva Convention type things, and just be able to blow up children in elementary school. Be able to say, hey, you killing your people? Hey, Donald Trump had ICE agents killing people in Minnesota. What if a foreign government came in and bombed a school here in America and said they was doing it to liberate us from Donald Trump? That'll sound crazy, wouldn't it?
What?
So I want to make sure. I know a lot of folks love to do a whole bunch of faking and fronting, like you leftists don't understand. You leftists, y'all love to suck up the dictators and this, that, and the other. Listen, man, listen. I always, when America start calling folks dictator, I always know I got to dig a little deeper because some more up in there. Always know. The second thing I say is I'm still never trying to be a dictator apologist. The third thing I say is this: even if we have a dictator, we see that America loves to stroke different dictators for different reasons, and I don't understand the rhyme or the reason for how they stroke it outside of the oil. But I know y'all got the. Well, all I'm saying is that America loves dictators and they hate them. They pick and choose which ones they willing to make an ally with, and which ones they willing to villainize, take the resources of.
Yeah. Nah.
Strokers, dick strokers.
I mean, this is why I think it's going to be very interesting, because a lot of this forced change comes from vested interest in doing things and exploiting things in those places. And so it's going to be very interesting because y'all killing everybody, but what you going to put back? That's a real big question that is had. And then Americans have that question both in terms of the moral and ethical kind of predispositions that we need to have that we don't seem about that. Like y'all want to go rip them up and tear them to shreds, but those are people that you fucking over when it's all said and done. And secondly, say for instance, y'all want to go tear some shit up, but then y'all gonna replace their government or like help them reestablish their infrastructure or some shit. Who's supposed to pay for that? Either way it go, either way you cut it. Like what are we really doing here, right? Because it's really hard to understand the game when, and I connect this to the last point by saying we know that you just want to put in somebody who you let dictate and
manipulate,
control, but that you can control. Right. You gonna let somebody tear
don't work ever. Yeah, because y'all don't control them for that long. It always turns back into this situation.
I forget whose name y'all talked about, but no, you had said this is somebody way back in the 1900s. But I guarantee it's deals being cut. I guarantee it's sidebar conversations being had. Listen, I ain't gonna do it like that. I'm gonna do it like this, and I'm gonna make sure you know about every kiloton of nuclear shit that we get over here, and I'm gonna make sure I report it. But as long as we can still get our shit, because our real beef is over here with Israel. So we go, hands behind your back, right hand not showing what the left hand doing type shit. The United States just want to be able to control the new orientation, the new establishment, the new regimes. And so if they can't do that, then they're not with the shit. But that's where it gets really contrived because. And we take it back to what we talked about. You don't have the permission to do none of this shit anyway. So you ought to be ashamed. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and I'll say this to kind of close it out is I think when it comes to like any solidarity, niggas ain't got no friends in no governments. Like niggas ain't got no friends in no government. Whether it's our government or government leaders speaking on our experiences. Like nigga, like because again, like when. The question that you always ask is how y'all treat black people there though. Y'all, the reason why ain't nobody pointing the finger at y'all is because y'all erase any image, any assemblage of black Iranians, African Iranian, any of that, right? We just our shit just get broadcasted. But how y'all treat niggas though? How
everybody y'all treat the cool black Americans damn near, you know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, that's because our shit get broadcasted. We are hyper commodified. And Iran talking about the black experience as a way to criticize the United States is
Iran. You ain't really know what Iran.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Iran, right. Well,
it's all right. If you're wondering, the counter is at 5. God bless you. Keep going.
Iran, right. So, but ultimately, when we talk like black people, we're aligned with oppressed people globally. Mm-hmm. Like, and typically when we talk about oppressed people, there are governments that play a role in that oppression. You know what I mean? And so regardless of what another government will say, like we're more aligned with those protesters that y'all was shooting at, that Iran was shooting at, you know what I'm saying, before anything else. So it's just like, it's a form of dirty macking. You know what I'm saying? You trying to use, you trying to use, what's happening with us for you to kind of, get a little bit of leverage, or for you to, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you're responsible for similar atrocities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like that. If your people can't trust you, ain't no way we could think that either. You know what I mean? So that's what that is. But stay tuned. This is like Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth and them have said, you know, we just getting started. Congress has clearly said that they're just going to allow it to happen. At this point, there is no recourse. Parents is sending off their kids to war for the president that said he wasn't going to start none.
Their definition for when this war can potentially be over is the definition for pornography. We'll know it when we see it. They literally don't have a clear outline for when the conflict will be accomplished. They just are riffing.
4 weeks.
And that's really
4 weeks. No, 2 weeks.
Plus times 25. Times 50.
Donald Trump really said 4 weeks. And I've been down a rabbit hole so much that I seen a video of the infamous "We got him," you know what I'm saying, speech from George Bush, and basically saying we ended the war. And it's like, nah, when we say forever wars, hey, we in 2026, we still got troops in Iraq to this day. To this day.
Yeah, and it's a video floating around of just randomly as millennials, we should be offended by how many things we've been through.
Dude, listen. Yeah.
We've seen too much.
All before 40.
Now, Mia, what we talked about earlier is that we don't think it's going to be capable for bombs to come to U.S. soil, largely because of the geospatial, like, just separation of the regions. Like, they don't have the ICBMs, which allow for these things to kind of carry far enough to have an impactful attack or a successful attack. They'd be intercepted, they'd be shot down, and that's just because of proximity to, they don't have bases over here, right? And a whole body of water in a continental way, it's just not really strategic. However, we still gonna feel that shit, because do you know the price of gas has gone up between 9 and 11 cents for the last 4 nights? The Strait of Hormuz.
I know. I tried to order some shit. They tried to hit me $50 for the shipping.
That's crazy as hell.
$50 for the shipping. I'm like, God damn.
Please believe we finna feel it in the worst way. This gas, this California gas. I call myself lucky because like I got some of the cheapest gas in the area, and for a long time my gas was like $3.94, $3.99, $4.01. The gas, yes, my boy, like crazy. It's a gem, good gas. I looked over there now, and that shit say $4.49 on it. And I know it's gonna go up again.
My feelings hurt.
I know it's gonna go up again. Listen,
California crazy.
And what else? Crazy. Just and what COVID showed us. What else you gonna do but pay it? That's the fucked up part. What else you gonna do is pay it, and then fill it at the grocery store. And then you gonna pay that shit that ain't never went down because ain't shit affordable or whatever. And then you gonna turn around and fill that when it's time to pay bills. You gonna turn around and fill that shit when it's time to go entertain yourself. So it's just really no, we're not gonna get hit like that, but we finna get hit. We finna get our asses whooped. We about to get mollywopped for sure.
Yeah, this is the last thing I say right here, y'all. People listening, people watching, whether you on Spotify, whether you on Substack, whether you on iHeartRadio, you're going to hear a bunch of propaganda about how it was only America and Israel that bombed Iran, and now Iran is bombing everybody. Toya and Damo have both been able to acknowledge something very, very important that y'all should never forget. America has military bases throughout the world. Everywhere. So when they're talking about Iran just bombing people for the sake of it, no, I'm guaranteed there was an American military base there. And guess what? They have enough civility to bomb military spaces and places and not civilian ones. America and Israel will brag about having the highest advanced precision weapons and that they can do. You bombed an elementary children's school with nothing but little girls in it. At the same time, you brag about having the most advanced precision weapons in the world. Yeah. What they tell you.
Yeah.
Wicked time.
Man.
Hey.
Well, with that being said, we appreciate y'all joining us for another conversation on the chopper. We got another episode that's dropping soon.
I say we keep it tucked. I say we keep it tucked, but you know. Oh, Toya froze.
Yeah, it looked like she did. Okay, she back.
She back.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, whether we drop the episode or not, y'all gonna see us Thursday. Y'all gonna see us next Thursday going in.
Oh no, I think we definitely gonna drop the L. We definitely got to drop the ep, and it's an ep about AI, which, you know what I'm saying, is something that should be at the backdrop of all of our minds, and shit ain't no getting away from it. So even if it ain't something you actively use or care about, it's something that shapes and influences your real day and real situation. I feel like listen, tap in, tune into it, be looking out for it. I finna say something, don't even worry about it. Just know we moving and shaking. We got some takes. Maybe you agree with them, maybe you don't. Either way, I think it was a healthy conversation. It was meaningful. It was impactful. And it has me thinking about how I move about this AI-generated world. Before I turn it back over to Plug to just shut it out all the way, shout out to Healthy Green Lifestyle 690 said, what do you think about David Hundian and Ahmed Caballo? This is an African stream. I'm not hip to the stream. Y'all hip to the stream?
I hip to the stream.
I'm
familiar with. I think I might be a little familiar with African stream, but I know those some dudes' names though.
And Ahmed Caballo, maybe somebody we need to check out and see what's good with. But definitely appreciate you dropping something over here our way. We never really ask for too much. We don't ask for nothing at all. So whenever we get show love, it's just like, dang, we really appreciate that. Lila Pacho, devastating Antifa, crashing, been in here blowing up the chat. Bishop, Mia, definitely, and been enjoying talking to you. Just a whole bunch of just solid people having conversation with us. Shout out to all of Chop Nation, whether you left a comment or not, whether you watched for a couple minutes or you stayed the whole hour and 25. It's love to you. Make sure you follow us everywhere. And if you don't like ads on YouTube, follow us on Substack. We about to bring some whole new stuff to y'all as we move toward.
Because the ads are still coming. We got to get this money. The ads are coming.
You know what I'm saying? So respectfully, but don't leave one platform for another. Follow us on all of them. That way you don't miss a beat, especially as we continue to start a pot and kind of try to figure out some new ways to keep y'all connected and stay connected with each other as we navigate these trying times, these perilous times. And I sound like
perilous, dangerous,
yeah,
unprecedented. We can keep going.
I love y'all though. Plug. What you got to say to people? Take us out.
Hey, it's the Chop Up. We see y'all Thursday.
Yeah.